Every place has its stories. Some are history, some are legend, and some are still being told. Welcome to Ghost Stories of Prince Edward Island. There are stories that claim the dead linger after tragedy, but every so often, folklore tells us something even stranger, that a warning can come before the loss itself. Throughout the history of Scotland, told through their descendants in the Maritimes, people spoke of forerunners, strange sights or sounds believed to foretell death or disaster. Whether coincidence, intuition, or something beyond explanation, these stories have been passed down for generations. On an October morning in 1853, the city of Charlottetown lay quiet when the bell at the Kirk of St. James began to toll, hours before anyone knew there would be a reason for mourning. The ringing was deliberate, somber, and clear as it sounded throughout the early pre-dawn hours. At first, no one imagined they were witnessing anything extraordinary. Bells could ring by accident, but curious neighbors were quick to investigate. Hearing the unexplained tolling, a man living near the church rushed over to investigate. He met up with a neighbor who just happened to be the church keeper. The heavy wooden doors groaned open as the two men hurried inside. Their footsteps echoed through the empty sanctuary while the bell continued its slow, deliberate tolling above them. They ran inside and looked up towards the belfry. Through the gloom, they saw three women, completely in white, standing by the bell. Suddenly, the heavy doors to the tower slammed shut, cutting off the view. When the men finally forced their way up into the tower, it was completely empty. The access doors were securely locked, but the heavy bronze bell was still visibly vibrating from being struck. The bell tolled exactly 8 times. As morning gave way to afternoon, life in Charlottetown continued as it always had. Along the waterfront, passengers gathered with luggage in hand, saying goodbye to family and friends before boarding the Fairy Queen. No one standing on the wharf could have known that the strange ringing of the church bell only hours earlier would soon take on an entirely different meaning. Later that day, the Fairy Queen set sail from Charlottetown, bound for Pictou, Nova Scotia. The ship had the reputation of a poorly maintained vessel with a dubious background. As darkness fell, a violent storm whipped across the Northumberland Strait. The ship began to leak badly, and its steam-powered pumps failed when the boiler fires went out. To make matters worse, the steering rope snapped. As the Fairy Queen began to sink into the freezing water, the panicked crew abandoned ship on a life raft, cruelly leaving the passengers and a cabin boy behind to drown. News of the disaster did not return to Charlottetown until several days later. As details of the sinking spread through the town, conversations inevitably turned back to that strange October morning and to the unexplained tolling of the bell at the Kirk of St. James. The tragedy had claimed 8 lives. Charlottetown was a small community in 1853. News like this did not remain a distant headline. Nearly everyone knew someone who had been aboard the Fairy Queen, or someone left behind to mourn. Among the dead were 3 women, all well-known members of the Kirk of St. James congregation. Those who had witnessed the mysterious figures at the church could not ignore the chilling similarities. 3 women had been seen standing silently in the bell tower, pulling the rope that no living hand was ever found to have touched. To many, the meaning became impossible to dismiss. They believed the figures had not been strangers at all. They believed they had witnessed the spirits of the doomed themselves, appearing before the tragedy had even unfolded. Some said the dead had come to toll their own funeral bell. Others believed it was something even more unsettling, that they had crossed the boundary of time itself in one final attempt to warn those who could not yet know what was about to happen. Whether born of grief, coincidence, or something beyond explanation, the story has endured for more than a century and a half, and with every retelling the same unsettling question remains. If the bells truly rang that morning, who was listening? Today, the harbor is quieter than it was in 1853, and the people who witnessed that October morning are long gone. Yet the story of the bells remain. On Prince Edward Island, it's remembered not simply as the loss of the Fairy Queen, but as the day a church bell was said to mourn before there was anything to mourn. Perhaps it's only history echoing through time, or perhaps some stories are never truly finished. Until next time, thank you for listening.